Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Ben Shatliff on Sunday, July 3rd, 2022. Thank you once again to Steve Wright, who's come to join in the conversation this week. Apologies for a few technical issues, unable to go live as normal, but hopefully everything is okay there. Right, welcome Steve. How are you first of all?
I'm absolutely fine, yeah, really
Very
good.
good.
First time for a while, went back to playing badminton at a local club, which was quite good even with my arthritic hip. I was trying to lose some weight as always.
Well, unfortunately, if I do stand up slightly, the weight hasn't got off the way, which it normally would do, but hopefully that is something that will happen at some stage. But it's good though to be able to do things like badminton and sports,
go back again,
and
yeah,
everything else, which is fantastic. Now there'll be no reflection as such this week as we normally would do, but I suppose we can just reflect on a week which has been very dramatic in the world of politics, but in which also things in Ukraine went to an even more of a low than what could possibly happen. What happened on Monday at that shopping mall was absolutely sheer disgraceful. There's no ifs or buts about that whatsoever. I keep sharing stuff on social media about what's going on, even though it's obviously heartbreaking and absolutely awful, but you think to yourself about the poor people who are involved and everything. It's just going worse, and I'm just going to just say something about that just towards the end. But it's just going worse, Steve.
it is going worse, and as always, they are predicting that this could go on for not months, years. And the more it goes on, the tactics that the Russians will be employing will get worse and worse and worse. And you say it's a new law that I think that there may be even more laws to come yet, and I think that's a worry that a lot of people have.
I'm going to say something at the end of this in regards to this. I think everyone, because people know that on the personal level, I've been going to these rallies now for over 4 months and various different stuff, and I'm going to give my thoughts on something I think we should have done right from the word go, but we'll come to that a little bit later on. When I was also saying about other things going on, obviously what happened at NATO, the NATO summit, and also the G7 summit, and that was definitely a positive response in terms of trying to do things for Ukraine. I don't think anyone can fault Boris on anything in that kind of a scenario. And obviously everybody's thoughts are with the people of Ukraine. I also think as well about the people of Hong Kong, because of course it was 25 years on Friday from when the British rule came to an end and the Chinese rule began, and I've spoken to people from Hong Kong and they've been attending the Ukraine rallies, and it's just awful what's going on there as well. It's just... I know we've all gone through COVID and we've got the cost of living crisis and there's all kinds of other stuff that go on in here in the United Kingdom, but you think about some of these other countries around the world and at least we can walk around. At least we can.
We still have our freedom as always, yeah.
But having said that though, we can walk around. Thoughts also go to the family and that poor young lady in London last weekend who was just going home. And that was absolutely disgraceful, and also that poor young boy whose whose mother, stepfather, and stepbrother who were convicted this week. It's I say you've got the freedom in this country, but it's just
you do really despair about some things that go on a regular basis.
Exactly. Yeah. So no, thoughts are definitely there. The first thing I want to discuss this Sunday, and I've also mentioned it with Steve, I was talking to somebody on Friday, and they were saying, in fact, I went back to the cathedral shop at Salford Cathedral. I've not been there since pre-lockdown. I hope that's not a tempting face of anything going back towards that, but me and one of the guys there used to discuss politics anyway, and of how things were toxic with Brexit and everything else. And the point that was made was that politics toxic here in the United Kingdom, and yet other countries just seem to get on with everything without, just agree with things, and they might have a disagreement, but just get on with stuff. That's in a lot of the countries, obviously there's quite a few that don't. But when I heard the story about the former junior whip on Thursday evening, Mr. Pincher. And I'm going to make a slight light of this, and I am not taking the mickey at the situation. But if this wasn't so serious, you can almost say that, you know, somebody's having a joke, because you've got a situation where his surname is Pincher, a junior whip, and groping people. I mean, it's just, if, as I say, if it wasn't so serious, you couldn't make something up like this. But there's too many of this kind of stuff, Steve.
There is a lot of this going on. There's a lot because of highlights, and again, all credit to the press and everyone else to highlight these misadventures and misdemeanours, because people like Mr. Pincher are being protected by the hierarchy, you know. Again, we said we discussed this earlier, but you know, it's like, why does certain MPs always keep, you know, when there's we just had last week or a few weeks ago a vote of confidence in Boris Johnson. You know, some had to vote for him because they had given him top jobs, or he had given them top jobs, but there's others further down the scale that he's got something on him. You know, you always got some little reasons or things or favours, and I'm not talking things like this, it's favours like, oh, we promised you a new school, or we did this for you, or we did that for you. There's always little favours and little things going on, rather than it just being a straight yes or no if he's the right person to lead their party, because that's what the vote was all about.
Yeah, I mean, you even had the situation where the former MP for Tiverton, where obviously congratulations to Liberal Democrats who won the seat last week, the majority overturned, was it 23,000 majority and won with 6,000?
Yeah.
But I mean, you even had that former MP, he's the one that was caught watching porn. He was saying that he felt he'd been dealt a bad blow because he was asked, the whip was removed from him straight away, and yet the other one, it's not been. But I mean, the fact is, though, is I can say this, well, we can both say it because we've both been involved in politics for many, many years in different senses, even though I'd taken a back seat from frontline, but obviously do stuff like this. But the fact is you think to yourself that politics goes toxic. I mean, there was a situation with the expenses, and there's all the kinds of stuff with Brexit and a whole variety of other stuff that's gone on. You know, these are just to name some of the stuff. And now you've got a different kind of sleaze that is absolutely disgusting. And there's even one MP who's been accused of rape, isn't there? Of course, that had not been named, but it's so, you know, there could potentially be more by-elections going on.
There could potentially be more by-elections, and I'll just go back to the point you made about the Tiverton and that MP. If we remember, it was a slow progress of the cases. Always been found out doing this, and I think they initially just wanted to remove the whip, and then. But again, it's the court of public opinion. The court of public, you just can't have a person like that. And again, the same may happen with Mr. Pincher, is that it will be moved on. And the issue and problem is, and this is absolutely non-political, going back to the expenses scandal. It seemed like everybody was at it. There were a good number who were squeaky clean, but it's a case of they didn't want to shout about it because it's A, from Labour was doing it, B, from Conservatives, C, from Liberal Democrats were doing it. You know, everybody had someone who thought they could fiddle something in some way just to get something extra out of the purse, which was the government purse.
Yeah. Let's hope that one day, things are a bit more better in the world of politics, where there's more decent, genuine ones and everything else, which there are, most of them are. It's just like you say, but it's you're hearing about the bad apples and things like that. I'm just going to move on to something else which was also in the news this week, when Nicola Sturgeon announced on Tuesday about having October 23rd, 2023 as another potential date for what they're calling independent indie vote 2. My own personal opinion on that, I thought with what's happening in Ukraine, and I know that we can't always say just because of what's happening in Ukraine, but I just thought it was bad. I just personally felt it was bad taste. That was my own personal view, and is it? I don't know.
The whole thing is bad taste, but just going on to independence, my personal view of it is that there should be some sort of set in stone of, I definitely don't want the union breaking up, but there should be some sort of set in stone X number of years that they have a review, they have the question again and things like that. But also that even if it is for independence, it's still got to be written into their law as part of the independence agreement that they have a review and they have a similar sort of thing 20 years on, because it's a case of they lost the vote this time and they can still keep going back and going back and going back, whatever the length of times is, but as soon as they get it, that'll be it.
Yeah,
that is it. It's one of those. It's the finality of it that they won't be able to. If you don't get the independence votes back, we'll go back again. But if they do, that'll be it. That's it. It's gone. They won't have another one back again.
Yeah, one of the things that she mentioned, I mean, it was mentioned on Tuesday, but it was also mentioned a couple of weeks ago as well. She mentioned Boris Johnson as a reason for wanting the referendum on a personal scale, personal basis. I think whatever anybody's views are of the Prime Minister, whether you're for or against or whatever political allegiance, I don't personally think you can actually use that as a reason for an independence.
I think, and again, this is just politics. This is the whole thing. It's a bit like the Brexit scenario. Whenever people were talking about wanting the Brexit vote or the vote, out of Europe, every single argument of everything that ever happened was down to Europe, and Nicola Sturgeon's just doing exactly the same. Yeah. Everything that happens that's wrong in Scotland will be because of the UK or being part of the UK. It's just using the argument all the time. Yeah. But if Mr Johnson was popular, she wouldn't be saying that.
No, exactly.
The other side of it.
Exactly. But yeah, she's reported it to the High Court anyway, hasn't she, for it to go through, so it'll be interesting to see what's said from there, and I suppose also what's said in the Commons this week, because of course Boris was in Rwanda for the Commonwealth Summit. He was also of course in Germany for the G7, then he was in Spain for NATO, and a lot of progress has been made regarding those, but of course this week will be the first PMQs in which he himself will have been there alongside Keir Starmer, so it'll be interesting to see what is actually said on Wednesday in regards to that, because it is bound to come up. Now on to some more local stuff, because that's kind of like the things on the national kind of side. Last week, and in fact the sun's come out now, which is nice. Prestwick's Carnival for the first time in 3 years, because of course pandemic stopped it on 2 occasions.
Yeah, as always, I try and help out the team there. We're on the road closures, doing some road marshalling to just make sure the carnival parade goes on. Again, I was a little bit disappointed that it wasn't the full route that they could have. The reasons given was due to the length of the route, and that some people were struggling with it, and especially if it would be. And you can never guarantee the weather, but if it is a hot weather day, then people would struggle with the route they normally do. But it just meant that, less people in Prestwich got to see, the carnival parade coming past their house or coming in an area that they could just walk the children down to and things like that. And I know a lot of people went to the park as well, but I just thought it was not as big as it was 3 years ago, but being you've not had the carnival for 3 years, it's quite nice that you've got some, and it was a big event and it was well attended. The help that we did get, I was going to say, there was a lot of people, because I know they were struggling for helpers, so it is a little bit of an appeal for the carnival committee. I know they're struggling for members. If anybody has got some bit of slight time and really enjoy the carnival, it will be nice to help them out and things like that. They asked me that they said they were struggling for people for the marshalling. I had a word with, and not from my party, the Labour Party, to asked some of their councillors to do it, and they really did step up to the mark.
Yeah, they did.
There is just one little thing I do want to say, and I know he watches this avidly. This recording me and Ben have. Richard Gold, really nice guy, but I'm sorry, Richard, you've just got no sense of direction at all. I'm sorry, but I've just got to say, I think everybody knows that anyway. But apart from that, he's a super guy, but he has got no idea on directions and things like that. But after that, it went really well.
And I must say that there was a comment that was made on one of the local Facebook forums. I'm not going to mention which one, but it was in regards to a picture of some of the Labour councillors, and I just said about the fact that it was good to see everybody there giving a hand, and there's people who I've seen that was there on the actual parade itself, that were actually there collecting buckets, marshalling that hadn't done that kind of thing before, and it was it was good, regardless of whatever politics has. But like you say, the Labour councillors did do everybody did a fantastic job, and I thought, I'm not going to make a criticism to somebody when someone's actually doing a good job. And I know from when I've been involved in politics in the past, or involved in different things, people do get a team photo together to actually show about what they've done. So, but I enjoyed myself. That was the first time I'd actually been able to go out. Well, no, sorry, I'd been out on the Saturday, but the weekend before, because of some nasty bug or whatever again, which is still unexplained. I wasn't able to do different stuff, but it was nice just to. I walked alongside my two nephews who were in the front of a wagon, who were on the parade, and it was lovely. The weather, it wasn't hot and sunny, but it was just perfect, wasn't it, for the actual occasion. Even yesterday when I was at the Ukraine rally in Manchester, even though it wasn't sunny all the time, the jacket was off because it still felt hot, but then all of a sudden went a bit cold. So I don't like to criticise the weather in Manchester, because this term about it
always perfect in Manchester.
The term of always raining in Manchester isn't always the case. When we get hot weather, it can be just as hot as in the southeast, if not hotter. So it's we do have nice weather in Manchester. It's not, and don't forget, when you think about our position in terms of where the UK is compared to, you've got the Antarctic and the various different things, which is not that far away. It's quite understandable that we might get a few drops of rain, or even snow at different stages.
Weather in Manchester.
But what else is coming up, Steve? I know later on this year there's the Prestwich Arts Festival, isn't there? Which is
Prestwich Arts Festival. I know you don't want to mention it, but there's the Prestwich Road Run coming up soon.
Oh yes,
for
of
everybody.
course, yes there is. I did actually forget about that.
Yeah. So run from the Tesco roundabout, and then does a circular route round other areas of the northwest.
I can give some publicity towards this one because it's my own father, Frank Shatliff, who's actually involved, organising that event. But that is next Saturday, July the 9th.
We, as well as the Arts Festival stuff, the committee for the Clough Day are trying. There's nothing guaranteed. Actually, we really enjoy doing the folk festival thing, and they might be trying to put on a further event during it all.
Right. Okay. So that would be.
But nothing's right. Absolutely guaranteed yet. It's just in talks of sorting something out, but nothing as of yet.
Yeah, because I know. Did they still do? They used to do back runs, didn't they, and things like that at one stage. Or
the gent who does back runs probably won't be able to do back runs anymore.
Right.
He's still keen on it. He's still my little bat expert, but he is of an age now, and it's probably not going to happen.
Right. I'm going to mention something that might be controversial to some, but it's whatever people want to discuss on this. And I'm a Catholic, and I do obviously, I don't attend church face to face now, but I do watch online. But I know that, of course, at the end of October, it is Halloween. But in Heaton Park itself, and I know like people have spoken about different stuff for many, many years. I know there was something that was done, was it by a theatre group or something, about Heaton Hall and different stuff, but I think it'd be quite interesting if somebody arranged like a walk around the park, even like a Midsummer's Night, or you know, when it goes down, because there's all kinds of different stuff that people have said over the years, things that could really get the hairs curling.
Yeah. It's an opportunity for someone to do something like that. Of course, it would be agreement with the Manchester Council, because it's their park, and in the winter they do close it up when it goes dark and things like that. So.
But no, I myself would be interested in a ghost walk of that kind. I think it's the kind of thing that does interest people.
It's things that interest people, history and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, there was one story about what they used to call the White Lady that was going from. Somebody told me that even went as far as Simister, and different people have seen stuff. Sadly, both of those people that were telling me about that, sadly no longer with us, and which kind of puts you in a bit of a funny position when you think someone's no longer there. But yeah, no, that's definitely something of interest, which we can kind of maybe discuss some of those stories a bit later on in the year. Was there anything else you wanted to mention locally at all, Steve?
Not really at the present time. The real thing I wanted to mention was the carnival and how well I thought it went off. Although it's not as busy as it has been, but it's understandable because it's the first time for 3 years because of the pandemic. So I'm just pleased another event's going on in the Prestwich area. Definitely.
And of course, this Festwich that's going on, is that the end of this month, or is it?
It will be.
Yeah, that's coming.
We've not had our parking permits yet. No.
Right. Well, let's hope the weather is nice, because of course it's. One of the only other things sometimes with some of these events on the fields, and these are no criticisms or anything like that, because as I was saying to Steve earlier on, I think it's fantastic. One, that everyone's been able to enjoy themselves again, but I think it's great when events go on in our local area. But I'm just thinking if it's raining, that's when it gets a bit muddy kind of thing. But yeah, I did see something actually, a bit of an unusual thing actually. When I was on the tram yesterday, somebody had reported a bag that was on one of the seats. Anyway, so someone from Metrolink came on, they got on, I think it was a Bank of Ale, or was it, no, it may have been Cromshaw when they got on. But instead of taking the bag off the tram, they decided to open the bag on the tram, realised there was nothing of any concern in it, and then they said, right, okay, they got off then at Bank of Ale. These are people from Metrolink. And I thought to myself, if there had been something on that bag, in that bag, we could all be in a very, well, we might not be here now, which might please some people regarding me, but it's,
It's always the case of this, that I am no police officer, I'm not in the security services, but they always say prepare for the worst as the mantra. So unfortunately, somebody accidentally leaving their bag on train should really have been, stop the tram, clear it, and have a professional look at it.
Exactly. But not actually open the bag whilst... Dearest me. Right, okay. I did say I wanted to return back to what's happening in Ukraine, and what I'm going to say now I know that Vladimir Putin has said that if people got more involved, then it would be the panic button, World War III and all this kind of stuff. My own personal view, I think we should have been doing more right from the word go personally, and it possibly will end up doing that, but then you just think of all those people, the thousands of people who passed away, and it's just an absolutely awful, a very, very awful situation. So let's just hope that there is peace in Ukraine, and then also peace for the people of Russia as well, because not everybody in Russia will be, even if they do know about what's going on, not everybody in Russia will be happy about what's going on. You think about what happened 80 years ago during the Second World War and hope that nothing like that would ever happen again. It's just awful when it's happening now in 2022. But But yeah.
You would have thought at the time that there may have been, and I know it's a very, very long process to sort out, that they could have, before it all happened, got, it's great in hindsight, to get him as part of NATO, and you would feel that would be too much for Putin to bite off at that time. I feel he's gone so long along the line, he would go up against NATO now if they tried to get involved, and that's the big dilemma that we don't get paid the big bucks for.
No, exactly. But one thing that did happen yesterday, they did actually accidentally sink one of their own ships as well, which was just...
Have you finished?
We're still on, Dad. Right, okay. Well, that is it for this week on Ben Shatliff on Sunday. Thank you, Steve, once again for joining us.
And thank you, Frank.
Yeah, apologies about a slight interruption there. Right, okay, back again next week. Don't forget that most weeks we will be on live, either at 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or sometimes maybe about 2 o'clock. And we'll share this on TikTok and various different stuff as well. But thank you, Steve, once again for regularly coming in. Right, take care, everybody. Have a good week. Thank you. Goodbye.